Og Mandino was a 20th century motivational speaker, and he once said something that really made me think. He said, beginning today, treat everyone you meet as if they were going to be dead by midnight. Extend to them all the care, kindness, and understanding you can muster, and do it with no thought of any reward. Your life will never be the same again. I had a friend named Matt who died of brain cancer. We'd been friends for decades. And during our friendship, sometimes we disagreed. And we both saw character flaws in each other. But during the last few visits I had with Matt when he was sick, do you think I was thinking of his character flaws? Do you think I was relitigating our disagreements? Of course not. I just wanted to love him. And I felt like I couldn't love him enough. What would I have to do to change enough to treat people like I really believed they weren't going to live to see another day? How can I treat people that kindly? I'm Brian Bateman, and this is Red Letter Blueprint, Jesus' 52 Rules for Joy. Jesus said, "It's not what goes into your mouth that defiles you. You are defiled by the words that come out of your mouth." Matthew 15:11. These are radical words for the time, and they're radical now, but they were especially radical when spoken to a people who often judged others by how strictly they kept their kosher diet. Yet Jesus said, it is not as important what goes into your mouth as what comes out of your mouth. God cares very much about what comes out of our mouths. In the Bible, Jesus put a lot of emphasis on following his commands, and he made certain promises about following his commands, like he would reveal himself to us and that we would be filled with overflowing joy. Jesus said, when you obey my commandments, you remain in my love, just as I obey my Father's commandments and remain in his love. I've told you these things so that you will be filled with my joy. Yes, your joy will overflow. So I poured through all of Jesus's words in the Bible, the red letters, that's the name of this series, and I found all the commands I could find, which added up to 52, one for each week of the year. 13 commands are related to our relationship with God, 13 about our relationships with people, 13 are related to our values, and 13 are about our actions. Well, I want to know Jesus better, and I want to experience this overflowing joy. So I'm doing a deep dive into Jesus's commands, and you are invited along on the journey. Most of us have no idea how powerful our words are. I think it's interesting that God created the universe using words. I mean, he didn't hammer it into existence or build it or mold it. He spoke it into existence. Of course, our words are not as powerful as God's, but he did create us in his image. Proverbs 18:21 says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruits." You know, cultures all over the world throughout history have believed in blessings and curses and often lived in fear of them. Of course, in modern society, we believe blessings and curses are just superstitions. But I do know a man who, when he was in middle school, he had a teacher who told him, "You're never going to amount to anything." And he believed those words, and those words shaped who he became. They affected the trajectory of his life, and they were a curse to him until he grew up and met Jesus Christ. And Jesus healed him of that curse, set him free from that, and again changed the trajectory of his life. So I don't think that teacher was intentionally placing a curse on the guy. I mean, she didn't sprinkle him with goat blood or anything, but she really did curse him. And if she has that kind of power to affect the trajectory of somebody's life using a few words, what kind of power do we have to affect people in a positive way with our words, to change the trajectory of their lives? The Bible has a lot to say about how we are to use our words. If you've never studied the Bible about how we're supposed to talk to each other, buckle up, because it's different. I'm going to give you a brief summary of what the Bible says about how we are to use our words. First, don't talk too much. This is a hard one for me. Ecclesiastes 5:2, do not be quick with your mouth. Do not be hasty in your heart to utter anything before God. God is in heaven and you are on earth, so let your words be few. Proverbs 10:19, too much talk leads to sin. Be sensible and keep your mouth shut. Psalm 141:3, set a guard over my mouth, Lord. Keep watch over the door of my lips. Proverbs 13:3, those who guard their lips preserve their lives, but those who speak rashly will come to ruin. James 1:19-20, know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger, for the anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God. Another principle in the Bible about how we're to use our tongues is don't share your opinion too freely. I keep learning this lesson. I'm a lot better about it than I used to be, but when I was a college freshman, I went to a Christian skate night, because Lord knows you can't go to those pagan skate nights. So Christian skate night was just a roller skating night where they play Christian music. And, it's a nice place to meet Christians. And they did a couple skate, and I had just begun a conversation with some girl named Heather. And I said, you want to go out? She said, sure. So we grabbed hands, we started going around. We were talking about Christian radio stations, what we liked and what we didn't like. And there's one Christian radio station, I said I liked them, but I didn't like the Moral Majority Report. That was a regular show that was on back in the 80s. And she said, you mean you like the Moral Majority Report? I said, no, I don't like the Moral Majority Report. I was a stupid, outspoken, empty-headed liberal, and I just didn't know anything, but I had opinions anyway. So I said, no, I don't like the Moral Majority Report. She said, you're kidding, right? I said, no, why? And she goes, do you know who I am? And I said, Heather? And she said, I'm Heather Thomas. My father is Cal Thomas. He does the Moral Majority Report. Oh, okay. So then she began to ask me questions. Well, what is it you don't like about the Moral Majority Report? I was like, I don't like the idea that Christians are supposed to be Republicans. She said, they've never said that. What else don't you like? And thus began the longest couple skate of my entire life. It was just 2 songs long, but it felt like 2 weeks. Don't share your opinion too freely. Proverbs 17:27. Whoever restrains his words has knowledge, and he who has a cool spirit is a man of understanding. Proverbs 29:11. A fool gives full vent to his spirit, but a wise man quietly holds it back. Proverbs 18:2. Fools have no interest in understanding. They only want to air their own opinions. Proverbs 29:20. There is more hope for a fool than for someone who speaks without thinking. Don't lie. Don't tell white lies, black lies, purple lies, rainbow lies, any kinds of lies. 1 Peter 3:10-11 says, "For whoever would love life and see good days must keep their tongue from evil and their lips from deceitful speech. They must turn from evil and do good. They must seek peace and pursue it." When Jesus was talking to the Pharisees who were trying to trip him up, he said, "Why is my language not clear to you? Because you're unable to hear what I say. You belong to your father, the devil, and you want to carry out your father's desires. He was a murderer from the beginning, not holding to the truth, for there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks his native language, for he is a liar and the father of lies. Yet because I tell the truth, you do not believe me." My point is, don't speak the devil's language. Don't talk bad about others. The book of Romans puts gossips and slanderers in the same category with murderers. Romans 1:29-31 says, "They have become filled with every kind of wickedness, evil, greed, and depravity. They are full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, and malice. They are gossips, slanderers, God-haters, insolent, arrogant, and boastful. They always invent ways of doing evil. They disobey their parents. They have no understanding, no fidelity, no love, no mercy." So those are some of the don'ts involved in using our mouths. Let's talk about some of the positive ways we can use our speech to affect other people. First, build each other up. Ephesians 4:29 says, "Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths, but only such as is good for building up, as fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear." Theologian Rick Renner says that the word communication is the Greek word logos, which simply means words. But when it's used in conjunction with the word corrupt, the Greek phrase describes words as or forms of communication that are putrid or disgusting to the recipient. As far as God is concerned, this kind of communication reeks. And those who consume this type of talk find it to be so putrid, it sickens them, just as spoiled meat would do. Instead, we should build people up, help others reach their potential by catching them in the act of doing something right. When I was a young youth director, I had two student leaders named Matt and Jeremy. In fact, I interviewed Jeremy in one of my previous episodes. But Matt and Jeremy were, they were 9th and 10th grade, and they were my closest student leaders, and they were great. They just went 110% on everything. When I took my youth group to feed homeless people on Saturday mornings to homeless shelters, I just did that once a month. They took the initiative to stuff their backpacks full of sandwiches and take the metro downtown to find homeless people to talk with and feed. When they went on mission trips, when they came back, it wasn't enough to go again. They had to bring people with them. And they didn't just recruit other kids from our youth group. They recruited kids from other youth groups. They would go and speak in other youth groups to get kids to get on the mission field. They always went one step farther than anybody else, or really that I expected them to. They were amazing. So when they grew up, I was meeting with Matt, and I asked him why. I said, "What made you guys so different that you would just go that extra mile every time?" And I gave him some examples, and he just laughed. He kept laughing. And I said, "What? What's so funny?" He said, "Really? You don't know?" And I said, "No, what?" He said, "We did those things because you told us we could." I wasn't intentionally trying to build them up. I was just pointing out what I saw already. And I didn't realize that I was making them stronger and more powerful. When we catch somebody in the act of doing something right and we speak it, when we speak what we see God doing in somebody, it's like pouring miracle grow on them. Here's another point about how to use communication from the Bible. Be an encourager. 1 Thessalonians 5:11 says, "Therefore, encourage one another and build each other up, just as in fact you are doing." Hebrews 3:13 says, "But encourage one another daily, as long as it is called today, so that none of you may be hardened by sin's deceitfulness." Why is encouraging each other so hard? Why is it hard to do? Is it because we have to humble ourselves to encourage somebody else? Is it that we're just so caught up in our own thoughts and business and day-to-day issues that we don't remember to encourage each other? It's a discipline. I want to grow in this discipline. I hope you do too. Here's another point from the Bible. Say what you mean. Proverbs 26:24-25 says, "Enemies disguise themselves with their lips, but in their hearts they harbor deceit. Though their speech is charming, do not believe them, for 7 abominations fill their hearts." Here's another point from the Bible. Be slow to make commitments, and when you make them, keep them. Jesus said, "You have also heard our ancestors were told, you must not break your vows. You must carry out the vows you make to the Lord. But I say, do not make any vows. Do not say by heaven, because heaven is God's throne. And do not say by the earth, because the earth is his footstool. And do not say by Jerusalem, for Jerusalem is the city of the great king. Do not even say by my head, for you can't turn one hair white or black. Just say a simple yes, I will, or no, I won't. Anything beyond this is from the evil one." Matthew 5:33-37. Here's a hard one. Make sure your heart is right. According to Jesus, a good person produces good things from the treasury of a good heart, and an evil person produces evil things from the treasury of an evil heart. What you say flows from what is in your heart. Luke 6:45. There's a great devotional called "My Utmost for His Highest" by Oswald Chambers. In that devotional, he said, "Have you renounced the hidden things of dishonesty, the things that your sense of honor will not allow to come to the light? You can easily hide them. Is there a thought in your heart about anyone which you would not like to be dragged into the light? Renounce it as soon as it springs up. Renounce the whole thing until there is no hidden thing of dishonesty or craftiness about you." Another principle from the Bible, mind your own business. Here are some verses from Proverbs 26. "Interfering in someone else's argument is as foolish as yanking a dog's ears." Proverbs 26:17. "Fire goes out without wood, and quarrels disappear when gossip stops." Proverbs 26:20. "Rumors are dainty morsels that sink deep into one's heart." Proverbs 26:22. I don't put up with gossip. I don't put up with listening to it. I certainly won't share it. Sometimes I'm tempted, but God hates it. By the way, he also hates complaining, but that's for another episode. I know that was a lot of scripture, but it honestly just barely scratched the surface of everything the Bible has to say about communication. Think of all the documents that have affected history, that have shaped history. The Bible and and the Declaration of Independence, the American Constitution. The American Constitution is the oldest constitution in the world, by the way. The writings of Shakespeare and Uncle Tom's Cabin, and in a negative sense, Mein Kampf. All these documents are just words, and they shaped the course of history. Think of all the poetry, the stories, the novels, the songs that have been written that have affected people's lives just with words. Let's be a lot more intentional about the use of this great gift that God has given humankind in communication. We have the power of life and death in our words. We can affect people in powerful ways just by what we say. I would love to hear your thoughts about these things, so please leave a message. And if you'd like, you can subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. Please share it with your friends. Share it on social media, and leave a review if you'd like. That will get us in front of more people. Next week, we're going to talk about Jesus' command to be good to children. Thanks for joining me on this journey. I'll see you. Anyone who has my commands and obeys them loves me. My Father will love the one who loves me. I too will love him, and I must show myself to him. John chapter 14, verse 21.